What Ocient does is we really provide solutions to analyze the largest data sets in the world. And in particular, we focus on business requirements to take a giant, almost limitless scale data set and analyze that with complex, continuous, always-on analysis. And one of the biggest areas, really the biggest data set in the world analyzed today is telco data. Traditionally, data sets that were analyzed, not just stored, but actually analyzed, where there's queries that are looking at that data and counting things or sorting things or stuff like that, used to be kind of in the millions to billions scale. But what's happening now with the explosion of connectivity and telephony and wireless is that scale, particularly in the telco and the telco metadata environment, is at the trillion, even the quadrillion scale. So that required a rethink of how data is analyzed. The architectures and methods that worked in the past, they just don't work. That scale means it's too expensive, too slow, and in many cases it just doesn't work. So we built a new architecture that combines both storage and compute into a single tier and delivers typically 100 times the price performance of alternatives. And that really helps telcos and other people that deal with this hyperscale data to analyze and solve their business problems. The use cases we see in telephony and at telcos for analysis of data include a lot of things that are really important. For one thing, just analyzing and understanding how fast those networks are performing and what the load looks like, the demand for connectivity and bandwidth, is an amazingly difficult problem to solve, because you can't just average what's happening. You have to look at every single activity in like the 99th or the 99.9th or so on worst performance. So that's really what matters. So if you really want to analyze performance, you got to look at everything, which is just this massive scale. You also see that same thing happening with performance optimization. You see that same thing happen with compliance requirements to be able to look at all that data and find certain things. You see it happen with support, like why was the network slow in Chicago yesterday? Well, you got to go look at Chicago yesterday, and that's just an enormous hyperscale data set. So those are the problems that we really focus on at Ocient. The key takeaway that we want people to understand is that hyperscale, and when we say hyperscale, we're talking trillion scale of things that are actually being analyzed, is different. You can't just take solutions that were designed in the past, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, architected in a different world, and apply them to today. And what's going to happen in the future is even more of that kind of demand. 5G is the largest investment ever in the history of the world, and one of the things it's going to do is create an amount of data to analyze that is at least 20 to 50 times larger than today. So where today it's already this hyperscale, really difficult problem to solve, it's about to get 20 to 50 times harder. And so the approach you need to take needs to be designed for that future and designed for hyperscale.